The tech world woke up to a storm of headlines the moment Google revealed its newest vision for Android. Social media exploded with reactions, YouTube creators rushed to upload breakdowns, and millions of smartphone users suddenly started asking the same question. Has Android finally pulled ahead of Apple in the smartphone race? For years, the battle between iPhone and Android has shaped the entire mobile industry. Every new feature, every software update, every design change becomes part of a much bigger war between two completely different philosophies. Apple has always focused on control, simplicity, and ecosystem integration, while Google has pushed openness, customization, and AI-driven innovation. But this time, something feels different. Google's latest Android announcement didn't just introduce another yearly update. It looked like a direct challenge to almost everything Apple has dominated for over a decade. Inside Apple Park, executives were reportedly watching the Android presentation carefully. Engineers, designers, and software teams knew immediately that this was not the usual competition. Google demonstrated AI features that felt futuristic, real-time voice interactions that seemed almost human, seamless cross-device experiences, advanced personalization, and tools that could fundamentally change how people interact with their phones. For the first time in years, many longtime iPhone users admitted they were impressed. Some even said Android looked more innovative than iPhone. That single moment triggered panic across the tech industry, because when Google changes Android in a major way, Apple has to respond. The rivalry between these two companies is too important, too massive, and too influential to ignore. Every move by one side forces the other to rethink its strategy. And according to insiders, Apple immediately began reassessing several parts of its own software roadmap after seeing Google's newest Android reveal. The biggest shock came from Google's aggressive AI integration. Artificial intelligence has become the new battlefield in tech, and Google clearly wants Android to become the smartest operating system ever created. During the presentation, Google showed an AI assistant capable of understanding context across apps, conversations, images, schedules, and even live camera input. Users could ask complex questions naturally, summarize emails instantly, plan trips automatically, edit photos with simple voice commands, and organize their digital lives without touching multiple menus. Apple, meanwhile, has traditionally moved more cautiously with AI. Siri, once revolutionary, has struggled to keep up with newer AI systems. Many users have criticized Siri for being limited, slow, and less intelligent compared to modern assistants. So when Google unveiled a deeply integrated AI-powered Android experience, many analysts immediately wondered how Apple would respond. What makes this situation even more intense is timing. Smartphone innovation has slowed down over the last few years. Most new devices look similar, perform similarly, and offer only small improvements each year. Companies desperately need something exciting to convince users to upgrade. Google believes AI is that breakthrough. Instead of focusing only on hardware specs, Android is now being positioned as a personal digital companion capable of understanding users on a much deeper level. That idea directly threatens Apple's biggest strength, user loyalty. Apple customers stay with the iPhone because the experience feels smooth, reliable, and interconnected. But if Android suddenly becomes dramatically smarter and more useful in everyday life, some users could start reconsidering their loyalty. And Apple knows it. According to reports from industry insiders, Apple executives were especially interested in Google's live contextual AI system. During the Android demo, the assistant could analyze what was happening on screen in real time and provide instant suggestions. Imagine watching a cooking video and automatically receiving ingredient lists. Imagine reading messages about travel plans and instantly getting hotel recommendations, maps, schedules, and reminders without switching apps. Google's AI appeared capable of connecting digital experiences in ways smartphones have never fully achieved before. For Apple, this creates a difficult challenge. Apple has always prioritized privacy and device processing. Google, on the other hand, uses massive cloud infrastructure and data-driven systems to train its AI models. Apple cannot simply copy Google's strategy overnight because it would conflict with its long-standing privacy-focused identity. Yet doing nothing could make iOS appear outdated. This is where the rivalry becomes fascinating. Apple and Google are not just competing over smartphones anymore. They are competing over the future definition of personal computing itself. Will the future be controlled, secure, and carefully curated? Or will it be adaptive, intelligent, and deeply AI-driven? Android's newest version suggests Google believes the second path will dominate the next decade. One moment from the Android presentation especially caught Apple fans off guard. Google showcased real-time language translation during live calls and video chats with almost no delay. Two people speaking different languages could communicate naturally as the AI translated conversations instantly. While translation tools already exist, the fluidity and integration shown during the demo felt far more advanced than previous solutions. Social media reactions were immediate. Some users joked that Android had suddenly become science fiction while iPhones still felt familiar and safe. Others argued Apple would eventually perfect similar features in a more polished way. That debate reflects the core difference between these companies. Google often moves fast and experiments aggressively, while Apple waits until technologies mature before integrating them carefully. Historically, that strategy has worked for Apple. The company rarely tries to be first. Instead, Apple tries to make technology feel complete and effortless. The iPhone was not the first smartphone. The Apple Watch was not the first smartwatch. AirPods were not the first wireless earbuds. But Apple refined those products into mainstream successes. However, the AI race may operate differently. Artificial intelligence evolves incredibly quickly. Waiting too long could allow competitors to build massive advantages. Google understands this urgency. Microsoft understands it too. OpenAI accelerated the entire industry. Suddenly, every major technology company is racing to integrate AI into everything. Apple cannot afford to appear behind. That pressure became even more visible after Google introduced Android features designed specifically to work across laptops, tablets, smartwatches, cars, TVs, and smart home devices. Android is evolving into a complete ecosystem experience powered by shared intelligence. Your devices remember context, communicate automatically, and adapt based on your habits. Apple already dominates ecosystem integration better than almost any company. Features like AirDrop, Handoff, iMessage, FaceTime, and Universal Clipboard keep users deeply connected to Apple products. But Google's latest Android vision aims to create something broader and more flexible. Instead of controlling users inside one ecosystem, Google wants Android AI to work everywhere. That distinction matters because younger generations increasingly care about flexibility. Many users no longer want to be locked into one company's products forever. They want devices that adapt to them regardless of brand. Google sees that shift coming. Apple executives reportedly discussed whether iOS needs a more dramatic redesign in response. Some insiders believe Apple has been secretly preparing major AI improvements for years but intentionally delayed them until the technology met its standards. Others believe Google's rapid progress may have forced Apple to accelerate its plans. The reality is that Apple has enormous advantages despite the pressure. The company controls its hardware and software together more tightly than Google. Apple chips are incredibly powerful and energy efficient. The iPhone ecosystem remains massively profitable. Millions of people trust Apple more with privacy and security. And perhaps most importantly, Apple has a reputation for turning complicated technology into something ordinary people actually enjoy using. Still, perception matters in technology. Right now, Google successfully created a perception that Android is becoming exciting again. That alone is a major victory. For years, many people viewed Android updates as incremental and fragmented. Different manufacturers added different features, software experiences varied wildly, and updates often arrived slowly. But Google's newest Android presentation felt unified, ambitious, and focused. It gave Android a clear identity centered around intelligence. That identity directly challenges Apple's carefully polished image of innovation. Some analysts compared this moment to past turning points in smartphone history. When the original iPhone launched, competitors panicked because touchscreens suddenly redefined mobile devices. When Android expanded globally, Apple faced pressure from affordable competitors. When cloud services transformed software, both companies had to evolve. Now AI may represent the next major shift. What makes the situation more intense is how consumers reacted emotionally to Google's presentation. Many viewers described the Android demos as exciting, futuristic, and surprisingly practical. That emotional reaction matters because technology companies sell visions of the future as much as actual products. Apple traditionally dominates this area through carefully crafted presentations and marketing. But this time, many people felt Google captured the imagination of the industry. The internet quickly filled with comparison videos asking whether Apple was falling behind. Tech influencers debated whether Android had finally surpassed iOS in innovation. Longtime Android users celebrated what they saw as validation after years of hearing iPhone users mock Android devices. At the same time, Apple supporters argued that demos are easy while real-world reliability is much harder. They pointed out that Google has a history of launching ambitious ideas that later disappear or fail to achieve mass adoption. Apple fans believe consistency matters more than flashy experiments.